Hello and welcome back to another episode of Inside the Asperger Studios. Are you someone who's always felt that you were different than the rest, but really never did anything about it? Well, my next guest felt that way, but first she got her kids diagnosed and found out they both were autistic. Then later in life, she got herself tested and found that she was autistic as well. So sit back, relax, and grab your favorite beverage, and let's learn more about her. See you there.
I wanna believe in the truth, but only see what I'm shown. Got the freedom to choose, but can't decide on my own. Follow what the group is thinking, bottle up my intuition till it's popping up.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Inside the Asperger Studios. Today on the show, I have a most incredible guest. I have Alyson Richelle. Welcome to the show, Alyson.
Thank you so much for having me, Reed.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So I guess I was one of those that were late diagnosed. Always knew growing up that there was differences about me, the way I dealt with things. Had three kids, and I guess the eldest is now 16. 2000, he was not that he was slow, but he always did things very differently. And it fought and fought to understand what was going on, how we could help him better. So my venture sort of started 2000 and, or he's born 2008, 2012, trying to find out what was going on. Had a second child at the time. She was only 18 months old, doing what he should have been doing, getting ready for school. And it's like, she's a girl, she's fine. He's a boy. And I've gone, hang on, there's this big disparity in like an 18-month-old shouldn't be able to be ready for school. And a 5-year-old should have basic skills. So it took me down that real journey of trying to understand what was going on with my son so I could help him, because he was a
Hmm.
beautiful kid. He was so intelligent, but he didn't respond, I guess, the way everyone else felt he should and fit into the typical box. And then that led us to a great specialist who confirmed that he was on the spectrum, level 2. He had the ADHD as well. And they were like, all right, we'll give him the diagnosis. He got support. We held him back from school. But then when it came to our daughter, it was like, oh, we don't want to diagnose. We don't want to give someone a label. And it's like, it's not about a label. It's about how can we understand and help her better?
Hmm.
Because when she goes to school at 5, she's behaving like a 10-year-old. So we've got a 5-year disparity in what she can do academically, but socially. So it was a really big journey to understand about that there was nothing wrong with me or them. It was just the way we process things differently. And then 2022, I decided to find out and spoke to a psychologist myself and said, look, I think I'm on the spectrum. I tick all the boxes. My kids are. And she went through it and she was like, are you the first person I've met that's got ASD but not ADHD?
Mm.
The more we spoke, it was like, no, you definitely got the ADHD, but they're very much the inattentive type. So brilliant ideas, but can't follow through, forget to do things. And it was like, oh, wow. But it was that real awakening for me to understand that the way I processed things was so different. There was nothing wrong with it. And it explained why I guess I was always working so far ahead of everyone else, had all these brilliant ideas, but never always implemented it. And that my kids were the same. So it really gave me that acceptance and understanding of myself to be more compassionate, that there was nothing wrong. It was just a different way of processing.
Now, let's start off with a little bit about yourself. Before you got diagnosed, did you kind of feel like you were on the outside looking in, feeling like, why is everyone else different than me?
Oh, hell yes. Very much so. I couldn't, like, I felt like I was in my own bubble all the time. Like, I struggled with friendships, and everyone else seemed to do things easily. They seemed to get a job, do like they seemed to live a different life to me. And it was really bizarre. And like, I joined the police, which is a really interesting occupation for someone on the spectrum. But it was very much because it was black and white. I knew what I had to do. There was no question about how I had to interact, how I had to have small talk. It was very much a factual based system. I knew my information, I knew my stuff, I knew the laws, so I could deal with it. And after that, it was a bit lost again. It's like, how do I fit in? And even at school, I always kept to myself. And everyone used to say, I guess you're the big introvert. You kept to yourself. You did things that were very solo. But now I'm learning I really actually craved that friendship and
Mhm.
connection, but didn't understand how to do it properly and get it.
I mean, that seems to be the big thing is we don't know how to get that affection, that friendship, because we lack that skill of small talk.
Yep,
And it's like when we're in a group of friends, it's like we stand there with our hands in our pocket and everyone's talking. We just don't know how to like start a conversation because it's not in it's not in us to like figure how to come up with something like, so how's the weather going? How you doing? How's the family? It just doesn't register in our heads. Like small talk is something we don't know.
exactly. And I was very much like that. I stood back, waited for a conversation, and unless I was directly asked something, I didn't know how to respond. I didn't know how to initiate. So I did. I stood back in the crowd and just, I guess, watched what was going on.
Now, when you got your diagnosis, did you kind of like get that light bulb moment of, oh my God, this explains so much of my past? Did you want to like kind of make up for the past from from that point on and say, okay, now I know what's going wrong. Let's see if we can correct some things.
I think it very much did. It was a real, okay, so there was a reason that I responded and behaved the way I was. And it wasn't that I wanted to, I guess, change the past and what had happened because it made me who I was and got me to
Hmm.
where I was. But it really, I guess, gave me that awareness of how I need to change things if I want to have that conversation, have that interaction. I guess develop a bit of a toolkit to go, all right, I can have a conversation about something, can ask them about their family, ask them about what they do for fun, ask them about their occupation or what motivates them. So once I realized I needed something to go, all right, well, I'm talking to someone, ask them about their family. It would start to build conversations. And I guess over time, the confidence has started to come out. And I've really wanted to, I guess, share that it's okay to be, I guess, as I say, diagnosed or have a
Hmm.
label, that there's nothing wrong with us and we've got so much power and potential that's incorporate us that's shifted things. Like I still have very awkward moments a lot of the time, especially at a new event. But when I get an opportunity like this to talk about it, I'm fine because I guess it's so passionate inside. But yeah, that
Hmm.
small talk is still always a real struggle and getting to meet new people and do that sort of thing.
I mean, that seems to be the problem with people and getting a diagnosis to this day, no matter what country you're from, is it's people are afraid of that label. And I remember in the very beginning, my mom's like, I want to get you diagnosed. And I'm like, I don't want to be diagnosed because I don't want that label of disabled. And then as time went on, it occurred to me, a label doesn't mean anything. It's the support that you get from that diagnosis. It's everything else that comes with it. Who
Yep.
cares what people think? It's what's going to help you in the end.
Mm. And that's very much what it is. And I guess there's so much shame and stigma about the diagnosis or label.
Mhm.
And I guess they associate that, oh, you're a retard, you can't do anything. And we're brought up to really think that. Whereas now, and I guess with my kids, I was very much like, I don't care about the label. She processes things differently. She learns. How can we give her the support? And if we don't have this diagnosis, which I guess society and education systems and everyone want, we can't give her the adequate support. So that's why I guess pursuing that diagnosis was really good. Like later in life, getting it, it hasn't really changed so much about what I do, but I do have more supports available. But it was more that awareness and understanding for myself to be able to go, all right, well, I know why I'm doing things. How can I make differences and changes? And if I'm awkward in a situation with friends, be able to go, well, just give them the heads up when we go somewhere. All right, I might feel awkward in this situation, or I might need to get out because it's a sensory overload, and be able to have those tools in place so I'm not getting to the point that I'm wanting to sit in the corner and rock going, there's too many people, too much going
Mhm.
on. So it's very much about that support.
Now let's go back a little. What is your life like as a neurodivergent parent raising two kids who are neurodivergent as well?
Every day or every moment is not the same. So yeah, I've got three kids that are all on the spectrum: 16-year-old boy, 13-year-old girl, 8-year-old boy, and I guess then me being neurodivergent, their father's neurodivergent. So we had a household of five of us. And I guess it was such a challenge because my strengths were someone else's weaknesses, how someone processed things. So every day was a challenge, and you'd think you'd master something, go, all right, cool, they're eating a food now. Tomorrow they wouldn't. So every day, I guess you really had to go with the flow and be very adjusting and accommodating and be, I guess, more open to what's going on. Like I know I had massive food issues as a kid that if food touched on a plate or I didn't like it, I would automatically vomit. And that was a real problem growing up because I was made to feel shame for it. Whereas with my kids, I understand, and their dad was very much the same, very highly sensitive to taste, textures, and that. So we realized that, hang on, we need to accommodate this. Otherwise, the kids wouldn't eat. And the whole, I will just put it in front of them, they'll eat when they're hungry. And it's like, have you ever seen an ASD kid? If they don't want to eat it, they're not going to eat it. They will starve themselves.
Oh.
So I guess I had to really reflect on my upbringing, what I'd been told to make the changes for myself and the kids to go, well, if it doesn't feel good, why are we forcing ourselves to eat it? And yes, cooking 4 meals at times can be really, really frustrating. But that's where you've got to adapt and go, all right, what's something we'll all eat, cook what we all eat, and then be able to add little bits and pieces extra. So we've all got a meal and we can all actually eat together.
I mean, you hit a nail on the head there, and I've talked with many people about this. Parents don't realize when you have a child who's autistic, you can't force them to do something, especially when it comes to food, because that's going to lead to more situations to where, oh no, now they're either anorexic or they're bulimic or they have ARFID, and now we need another specialist. And people, you can't take the same way you were raised and raise your kids that way, because when you're autistic, our minds think so differently. It's like we don't like the texture, we're not going to eat it. It's
Yeah,
plain and
very much so.
simple. So how do
Hmm.
you handle that?
And that's been it's been a big learning curve because I still get so much pressure from so many people going, but that's what we did. We're at childcare and we just make them eat it. And it's like, all right. But I remember how bad I felt with food. And even now as an adult, there's foods I won't touch. The thought of them makes me want to vomit. And it's like, well, if I'm feeling that as an adult and I understand my body and processing, how are my kids feeling? Because often they can't express it. So yeah, it is very much that breaking those old habits and cycles of what we've been told, oh, well, it worked for your parents and it worked for their grandparents to go, well, hang on, it's not working for me. And really trusting yourself and your judgment and doing what's best for you and your family, because your family's not the same as your parents' family. That's not
Mhm.
the same as your friends. So it's, I guess, very much being open to breaking that box and doing something differently that's going to benefit your family and have better results rather than, as you say, the longer term issues that come on with food or whatever else because you haven't been accommodating, you haven't been willing to adjust.
I mean, it's almost like that old saying of when someone says, "Hey, if so and so can do it, so can you." Well, I'm not so and so, and I got other issues. I remember I had a therapist once upon a time, and I was late to his appointment, and he goes, "Well, other people are able to make it on time." I'm like, "Yeah, well, other people probably drive to your appointments. I'm taking the bus, and I came an hour early, and I still got stuck in traffic. So don't tell me other people, because other people aren't me."
Oh, and that's a huge thing with, I guess, the assumptions and judgments that, oh, someone else does it, you can do it. And like I was talking to another friend the other day, exactly the same, because they were talking about what happened. She gets up at 4 o'clock every morning to be somewhere by 8 o'clock because, again, doesn't have the opportunity to drive. She's an amputee, so she's got to take public transport. So there's so much assumption that we all just get up in the morning, we have a shower, we have our breakfast, we get in the car and we go to work so we can be there. They don't take into everything else that happens before that. It's like this morning, I couldn't find half the pieces of a thermix to be able to make porridge, so I got the shits and gave up. And people are going, but why didn't you use a pot and pan? Well, if I use a pot and pan, I forget about it. I forget to mix it. I get bored standing and stirring. I burn it, set off smoke alarms, and then it screws up my entire day.
Now I gotta ask, is your husband autistic or is he ADHD?
He's both. We're no longer
Oh,
together, but yeah, he was diagnosed about the same time I was, and he was very much in denial. His psychologist picked it up straight away. But it was interesting because when we did all the assessments for the kids, he goes, I can't answer this for Thomas, but that's me. So it was really interesting. He couldn't see the signs in our son, but he was able to see him in himself, and it still took another 8 or so years before he was diagnosed.
Now, when was it when you finally realized, no, these aren't just quirks my kids have, these are actual autistic traits? And when did you decide to say, hey, maybe we should have them evaluated?
So my eldest, he was diagnosed and evaluated about 4, because we were getting ready for school and we noticed there was lots of things happening. Um, my daughter was about 3, and funnily enough, I had no idea that she showed anything,
Hmm.
I guess, different. She was just I guess I'd call her my extra difficult child. She was wanting to do so much more than she wasn't. And at the time, there was a Woolworths Dominoes promotion, and I'd collected a whole heap of Dominoes and we're donating them to different organisations in the community that dealt with spectrum children and that. And we'd gone to hand these Dominoes over, and she said, your daughter's on the spectrum. I'm like, what do you mean? And she pointed out all these characteristics, went and did the assessment, and it was like, yeah, it's not just a little quirk, it's well and truly really unusual behaviors that are very much spectrumy. And then my youngest, he was a lot younger because I guess I had the older two, and he was non-verbal. He was really showing all the signs of doing things in his own way that were not going to change. And he was picked up probably at the youngest, but I'd had that awareness for the other two of not what to look for. And I wasn't looking to go, is he different? But he didn't want to talk. And he basically, when he did something, he did it once and wouldn't do it again. So, like, we crawled once, we walked once, then we were running, then we were climbing. And it's like, and even with speaking, it was about 3.5 before he decided to actually speak. And we went from not speaking to full sentences, which is really abnormal. But then we realized that once he knows how to do it and master it, he'll come out with it. Once he's done
Mhm.
it, he won't do it again. So, again, that was something that was really difficult to get used to and adjust to because it was the way he did it.
Now, what are some of the challenges that you've hit, like that made you say, why don't you get it? My son is autistic. Why don't you understand that?
As I said, we're still getting massive challenge. Like, food is obviously a big issue with others. It's like, well, why are they only eating chicken nuggets and chips? Why do they only like the McDonald's version? And again, we also have other issues with the youngest, and it's like, but everyone else is toilet trained. He should be toilet trained. Why aren't you doing
Mhm.
this? Why aren't you doing that? And it's like, hang on, there's a lot more going on. Or even with something simple, why isn't he reading? Because unless it's a real passion for it, and he can read, but he chooses not to because it's not
Mhm.
passionate or interest enough. It's like he taught himself to read, to write, to skip, watching YouTube. This is how this kid works. And people are going, but he should be doing this. And I've gone, but once he mastered how, like, he'd never been shown how to skip and then was skipping. And it's like, how did you learn that? And he goes, YouTube. Like, his brain is just so different that you can't put him in a classroom. And the stuff he's learned and absorbed is all very much self taught. And it's like, well, hang on, he learns so differently. You give him a pen and paper and book, he's bored because there's no pretty colors, there's no visuals, there's no,
Mhm.
like, he needs multiple sensory input to be able to learn, and does 2 or 3 things at the same time to learn, which you can't get in a school because he's got to sit down at school. He likes to jump and bounce and move around. So again, he's learning through that physical activity as well as having visual and audio, as well as being hands on. So he's really got that heightened sensory input rather than someone just talking to him all day.
Now, the whole process of fighting for your kids to get that diagnosis, I know it's got to be exhausting because there are people out there who say, no, they're not autistic. They're just slow, or they're this, or they're that. What was the one driving force that just kept you going to say, no, I know my kids. I know they're autistic. I'm autistic, and I'm right. What was that driving factor for you?
I guess the driving factor is really getting him that support so they could be understand. So they weren't given that, I guess, the label of he's just naughty or he just doesn't want to do it, because that definitely wasn't it. They were highly intelligent kids. They
Hmm.
were motivated in the right environment. Like, even their emotions and their empathy and that sort of thing is there. And it's like, hang on, they're not being naughty. They're not just not doing this. We need to understand them so we can give them proper support. Otherwise, at school, they're going to be targeted. They're going to be bullied
Hmm.
because they do things differently. So I guess in the education system, it was very much, even though there's still so much misunderstanding about what it actually means and how they can help them, at least it was something simple that I could go, all right, there is a diagnosis. He does have ASD. This is what we need to put in place. So I could advocate better for them rather than going, I know my child, it's my son, because unfortunately medical professionals are, but I'm the doctor, I have the qualification, I know best. And it's like, but I live with him 24/7. You've seen him for 1 hour. And that was probably a thing really standing up as a mum or even any parent, believing in yourself and knowing what you know rather than letting professionals tell you what they want or what they think. Like being told, don't diagnose your daughter because then she'll have a label. It's like we wouldn't be where we are today if I hadn't fought for that diagnosis and label because it gave her the support when she needed it. Yes, she doesn't like being labeled, but because I can still deal with it in the background at schools and that, I can get that extra support, the extra awareness. So if something's not right, they know what it's contributed to rather than she's disinterested, she's disengaged, she's being naughty.
I mean, what's funny about it is, I mean, we brought this up before, is people don't like that diagnosis because it's a label. It's a label that says they're disabled, but they can call it what they want. They can make any name up for it, but in the end, your child is still disabled. Your child still needs support. They still need the help from the system. If you don't get that diagnosis and you don't swallow your pride and say, no, I don't care what the label says, they're getting that support. It's plain and simple.
Oh, very much so. And I guess I compare it to a lot of people and it's like, well, if they're diabetic or they've got a heart condition or something physical, are you not going to get them diagnosed so they can get the support they need? What is different with the ASD, like, or even your mental health diagnosis? It's about giving you the support so you can function at your best and contribute to society rather than like the old days going, you're a vegetable, you're a retard, not giving you any opportunity, not giving you any support, locking you away and isolating you. It's about how do we include everyone and give them that opportunity.
Now, how are the school systems with your kids? I mean, I'm not sure how schools are there compared to here, but do you have things like IEPs where you have a written thing that says this is what my child has, this is what they need, and you got to give them this kind of support?
Let's just say every school is very, very different and every situation is very different. They are supposed to have those in place. But
Hmm.
I'd often found that I would supply the school with all the reports, what their strengths were, what their weaknesses were, what they needed. It would go to the principal, be filed, and no one else would get it. Whereas at the new school we're at the moment for my daughter, they've actually been brilliant. They asked, how can we support her? And even though it's not forefront that she's got a disability or a label, because she is very academic, in the background, they're able to provide extra
Hmm.
support. But they've actually communicated with all her teachers for a change, so everybody knows what's going on rather than it. But hang on, why didn't you know when you yelled it in her face? She's going to shut down. There's actually that communication. So it is unfortunately very hit and miss with all the schools and what they offer. And I think that's because there's a lack of education and awareness around what is needed. But then so many parents have been shut down. Like I don't think I would have fought so hard now that, well, even when I look at when she started at the beginning of the year, she really didn't want the label. The school didn't really seem willing to push it to give her
Hmm.
the support. So I sort of let it slide. Whereas this school is like, how can we support her? What can we do? And I was able to say, look, she doesn't want to be labeled. She doesn't want everyone else to know. But these are things we can help her. We can advance her academically. We can give her sports. So it was a very different approach, like within 6 months from two different schools on how they could actually provide the support. Yes, the new school is a smaller school compared to a bigger school, but between the three kids, we've been involved in probably half a dozen schools. And every experience has been different. And every parent I speak to is like, well, won't they do this to my child? Which is why so many parents resort to homeschooling their kids.
Hmm.
So they can provide that support to the children, which is missing in our education systems. And I imagine it's going to be the same globally because there's not enough education or awareness.
I mean, that reminds me of a story. I mean, when I was talking with the assistant minister of autism out there, and she told me about how she had one parent who put her kid in one school and he wasn't thriving, and she pulled him out. And then she's like, okay, we're gonna try again. And he wasn't thriving. She's like, okay, this last one, if they don't help you, I'm pulling you out and we're gonna homeschool you. Puts him in that school, and all of a sudden the school's like, oh, your child's autistic. What can we do to help you? And you're right, it's every school is different, everyone is different. It needs to be across the spectrum of all schools. It needs to be set in play that no matter who the child is, if they're autistic, you need to give that support to them. You can't just say, no, we're not gonna support him. You gotta support him.
Mm. Oh, very much so. And I think that's probably if you've got someone who's had some lived experience with a child on the spectrum or something, whether or not it's their immediate family or friends, they will pick it. Whereas most people don't, I guess, have that lived experience or close experience, and they assume because they met one autistic person or one ADHD person,
Mhm.
everyone's the same. So they can't actually identify what's going on. And it's easier to go, your child's naughty, than
Mhm.
look at what's going on behind that, what's creating the behaviors, and how can we help them.
I mean, that goes to the old expression, when you meet one person with autism, you meet one person with autism. We're all different. We all have our different traits. It's kind of like when I went to high school and my brother he graduated before me, the teachers thought I was going to be like him. Why are you going to assume I'm going to be like my brother? We're two different people.
Yep. Oh, very much so. You're the same family, therefore you're all the same. You all deal with the same. It's like, hang on, but we're two different people. And even like people look at twins. You can have two identical twins, and they're still so different, even if they
Yeah,
don't have a diagnosis or anything. So why would two siblings that aren't the same going to be the same?
yeah. Now, did going through your kid's diagnosis help you kind of realize things about yourself?
Oh, definitely. And I think that's where I started to become aware and see it in myself. But I think because I hadn't been labeled, I hadn't really comprehended it as to how it really affected and impacted the way I was learning with them and had grown up. But I guess it had given me that more openness to being able to help them and advocate and go, all right, well, what do they need? So it was very much about them and
Hmm.
how I could support them rather than what I was needing, which I know caused a lot of conflict with lots of people because I wouldn't put them in the box and I wouldn't force them to eat foods. And like bedtime was a massive, massive issue. Everyone goes, put him to bed at 6 o'clock. And I said, well, I put him in bed at 6 o'clock. He's up at 2 a.m. I can't start my day at 2 a.m. because then I'm not sleeping. So there was so much lack of understanding about that to go why I had to do things differently. So I did. I sort of ended up isolated from so many people because I was working what worked for us and our family and going, well, what do I need? What do my kids need? How do we merge that together so we've got a good quality of life? We're meeting everyone's needs. And it was definitely not what everyone expected because even now, my 8-year-old, he's probably not in bed before 10, 11 o'clock at night. If he falls asleep at 6 or 7 o'clock at night, he's up at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Now, what people don't realize is that lived experience becomes a fuel for us to change. When did you know you wanted to take your story and use it to help others?
Well, I guess it's pretty much only been recently. Like I dabbled in it bits and pieces, like doing Facebook lives and that sort of thing, and trying to explain it's okay to be different. But it was really this. What was it? We're in June now, end of May, when I went and did this other interview, and they said to me, "Oh, I'm a lawyer. I've had plenty of clients who have come to me in the past said they were diagnosed as ADHD, ASD as a child, and I've told them, but this is you now, hasn't it gone away?" And I was just completely shocked and gobsmacked to go, like, you're a lawyer, so you're someone in a professional capacity. You do lots of media, you do lots of things, and you're of the belief that it just disappears. I was like, no, we've got to change this. I need to really start sharing more and helping to educate and make people aware because many don't want to, I guess, have their face on camera, share their story, worried about what's going to happen. And it was like, no, I'm ready. I don't want to hide anymore. If I can help someone, it will then help someone, which will help someone and have that ripple effect. So it was really all right. And I became determined, I guess, from that point to start sharing the story and what I'd been through to show that lived experience. sometimes is better than a qualification. Yes, we need both in different areas,
Mhm.
but we actually need to listen to people who have that lived experience rather than dismissing it and just saying, well, you're not qualified. Hang on. We live it, we breathe it, we see it. We help others already in a capacity that have got it. And the number of people I know I've spoken to and gone, I think you're possibly on the spectrum or your child is. What supports have you got? And like in Australia, we've got NDIS that, especially for young kids, we can get early intervention so they can get assessed, they can get diagnosed to be able to go, look, that's not just him being naughty or you imagining it, which they'd
Mhm.
been told. These are options that we can look at so we can get you support as a parent. We can get your child support to make things easier.
Now, what does support look like now? I mean, are you coaching? Are you speaking or mentoring or anything like that? Are you talking with other parents to like educate them as well?
So I guess it's all still very much in the early days, but I think it's taking what I was doing very informally of just helping with friends and networks to go, all right, well, I want to become connected with more like people like yourself so we can actually share these experiences.
Mhm.
So get definitely podcasts, speaking at events, creating a Facebook group and circles where we can talk about these experiences so we're not made to feel alone. But then I guess I've taken it further is now really helping with that relationship and behaviors to help people understand what's going on so they can understand body language a bit better. And it's not looking at the face necessarily because everyone goes, but you've got to look at me in the eye. You've got to watch my face. There's so much, yes, we can pick from the face, but there's other signs that people give in their body if they're not comfortable or they're distressed that we can use to go, all right, well, they're not a bit uncomfortable. How can I help them and help build better, healthier relationships so that I guess so we're not being taken advantage of because we don't have the small talk. We might miss cues. So really much, I guess, that awareness education to help people understand that this is what's healthy, this is what's unhealthy, because often we've not spoken about it. If something's happened and you're feeling uneasy, this is what it could be, how we can get help. So hopefully we can break those old patterns, old cycles, and break that generational trauma and pattern of, well, my parents did it, therefore I've got to do it to help people believe that, hang on, no, you're your own person, your children are your own person. Believe in yourself, trust in yourself. So you can then make that change for your children, which will then have a big flow on effect because we're not living in what they did say in the 1950s or even grandparents. We're able to change that and actually accept everyone and acknowledge them for who they are as that unique individual that there's only one of, so they can have their best life.
No, I mean, you brought up a good point about a couple of things. And then one of the things I want to ask is when you talk to people, parents, schools, and stuff, how do you explain to them that when a child's not looking at you, it doesn't mean they're not paying attention. They really are paying attention. They just can't hold eye contact.
And I guess it's something I've really only just really understood and learned. Basically, many spectrum people, we don't learn through our eyes, it's our hearing, our other
Mhm.
senses that we need together. So if we're focusing on someone's face, we get that tunnel vision, and that's all we can see. So if I'm looking directly in your eyes, I'm not taking in a word that you're saying because I'm trying to hold it together to look at your eyes. Whereas if I look down, I can still see what your body's doing and your language, but I can actually hear what's going in so I can process it. Because if I'm trying to process looking at your eyes, what your face is doing, plus what you're hearing, it's going all different directions. Whereas not being able to have that constant eye contact, yes, you look occasionally, but again, it's also a comfort thing. If you're not comfortable, you can't look at someone's face and you're worried about how they're feeling and judging you, so you don't want to look there. And I guess we want to be able to understand and interpret what's being said. And if that means looking down, allow that person to look down. Yes, gently encourage them to, if you need something, have a look in the eye, but understand and respect that they're not going to be able to look at you in the eye for 20, 30 seconds. And then that's something now that I've learned is to help teach how you can have a little bit of eye contact without making it awkward for yourself, awkward for another person, but still showing that respect to a degree that's so much expected, but not having to get outside your bubble and make yourself feel really awkward that you then have got no concept of what's going on in the conversation or what's going on around you.
I mean, one of the greatest things is one of my guests literally explained to me why we can't look people in the eye. And she says the reason is because it's one less sensory thing we have to deal with. This way, we don't get overwhelmed. If we look down, our mind can focus more, pay attention more because we're not getting overwhelmed by trying to force ourselves, like you said, try to force ourselves to listen. And it brings up a great story. I had a guest tell me he was giving a lecture to a bunch of autistics about dating and relationships and stuff at like a Jewish center. And he finishes up, he goes to the woman that set it up. She goes, "How did it go?" And he goes, "No one was listening to me. No one was paying attention. They weren't looking at me." She's like, "Wrong. They did great. They were paying attention to you, and you got a lot of great reviews." People don't realize when we don't look, it doesn't mean we're not paying attention. It means we're just diverting so we can focus more on what you're saying.
But that's the other thing. I don't think people realize, like, if you look around where you are now, our eyes are seeing so much. So we'll get something in a glimpse, will trigger, and we'll look in that direction. So our eyes are very, very distracting when we want to concentrate. So
Yeah.
if you're looking at someone, something that happens behind them, you're going to be then focusing on that and something else. Whereas if you look down, you're giving that person your undivided attention because you're listening to what they're saying without going, all right, I can be distracted by the pretty butterfly or a shiny light or something,
Mhm.
which what often happens when we are on the spectrum, because we do like to jump and our attention is really grabbed by visual things, that when we're having that conversation, not having that visual stimuli, because we want to be able to listen and understand. And that's probably the big thing. It's not just the listening. We need that reduced sensory input to be able to understand and process what's being said. Whereas if we're looking, we're going, all right, well, what else is happening? And we get so much more distracted that we might have heard it, but we haven't processed it. We certainly haven't understood. So someone asks you what happened, you go, what? What did you say? So, yeah, it is very much a way to be able to focus on what's being said and retain that information.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, we get distracted so easy. And then you throw in the fact that a lot of us have ADHD as well, and I'm aware of it. We get more distracted, and everything around us becomes a distraction. Life becomes a distraction. We could be talking to someone, and all of a sudden we see something out of the corner of our eye, and all of a sudden our attention turns, and the person's like, "Wait, weren't you in the middle of a sentence?" And you're like, and you just realize, "Oh crap, I was doing something." I mean, it reminds me, I was doing the dishes once. I turned around for a split second, saw that we were working on a jigsaw puzzle, and my attention went poof and went to the puzzle. And then 5 minutes later, I turned back around and realized, oh crap, I was doing the dishes. And people don't realize when you have autism along with ADHD, your attention is shorter than most.
Yep. And that's the thing. Everyone expects your ADHD to be this attentive or jump up and down all the time.
No.
So many of us do have that inattentive side, which is exactly what you're saying. We'll be doing a task, something else will come up, we'll be sidetracked, we'll be distracted, we'll forget what we're doing. And that is so common. So, again, in a conversation, it happens all the time. You'll be talking to someone and something else will come and it's like you're off track and you lose. So that's why, as I said, being able to not have eye to eye contact all the time actually helps you stay focused and engage in that conversation.
Now, is there one thing you wish every parent who's just starting this journey could hear? These moments when it's all overwhelming, what would it be?
Probably just to stop and breathe. Know that there's nothing that you did to cause this, and there is nothing wrong with your child. You and
Mhm.
them are exactly where you're meant to be and are completely perfect. Yes, some people are going to tell you that you've done something wrong, there's something wrong with your child, but there are plenty of other people who see you, believe in you, and are here to help you on this journey so you don't have to do it alone. And it's like everything. We don't all like the same food. We all don't like drive the same car. So on your journey, you really need to find the people who actually connect with you, have the, I guess, the like-mindedness, the vision about wanting to help, and get the right support, because one size isn't going to fit all. One person's not going to be the right fit for all. So it is really finding who you are connecting with that is supporting your vision, what you want for your child, and is connected with your child.
Now, as a parent, it's got to be hard on yourself, but then it's twice as hard because you're autistic. What do you do to take care of yourself in all of this? I mean, because I've talked with couple of people who say people don't realize that the support doesn't just stop with your kids. It's you need the support to help the parents as well because now they're thrown in to this deep end of, oh my God, my kid's autistic, and they don't realize they need help themselves. But now you are autistic yourself. What do you do to help yourself?
I guess the big thing that, like, because I hadn't always helped myself, I'd always put everyone else first, especially my kids, my partner, the house, and that. That for some reason on a plane one day, it really hit me that I had to put my oxygen mask on first. That if
Hmm.
I didn't help myself, I couldn't help my kids. And that was probably the big change for me to go, all right, well, what am I doing to fill my cup and give myself some breathing space? And that was probably where I started to accept help. So with NDIS in Australia, we can get support workers in. So instead of me trying to manage the house, cleaning, appointments, driving kids to school, I accepted that help. So I had someone who came in under NDIS to provide those skills and supports that I needed. So it could be driving kids to appointments, it could be helping with meal prep, cleaning. So then I wasn't so focused on doing that, that then I could go and spend 5, 10 minutes and have a bath. That's probably one of the big things I really love doing is just having that water and sensory lights out, just being in that warm space to take time with myself. But even doing things I really enjoy, like Lego and jigsaw puzzles are two of my
Uh,
probably big
Woman after my own heart.
passion projects.
I love jigsaw puzzles and I love Legos.
And love being able to do that. So actually making the time to do it. And I'm still adjusting and moving house at the moment. So I haven't got my dedicated space. But then it's like, all right, well, if I can't do a physical jigsaw puzzle at the moment, there's so many that are online on our phones. So being able to do that. So it's finding different ways to, but I love nature as well. So just getting outside, sitting, listening to the birds. It's just implementing. And I found the biggest thing for me, rather than going, all right, I've got to take a day out. Even 5 to 10 minutes of just doing something for me is enough to reset. So really making sure each day I've got something for me. Like we've got horses. So I'll go and feed horses, unrug horses, and then I'll go for a walk to the dam and watch the birds, or I'll just sit on the veranda and enjoy those simple things rather than trying to do everything. And it's enough that I guess fills the cup to keep me going. But yeah, it is very important to find something that you really enjoy and prioritize yourself. So whether or not you're spectrum yourself or a parent of someone on the spectrum, because often we're going, well, I can't take time out for me. But if you don't, you'll burn out.
Yeah.
And then how are you going to be able to provide support to your children? And it's not selfish. I'm not saying take weeks out or months out. 5, 10 minutes a day might be all you need to just recharge your own batteries and fill your cup. So you can keep giving, because many of us are wanting to always give and give and give, but we forget about ourselves.
I mean, that is so important. I mean, you hit another nail on the head is we need to give time for ourselves. We need to get grounded, step away from all electronics and enjoy nature because people don't realize how much grounding yourself can recharge your batteries, make you see things through different set of eyes because you're more refreshed, you're coming back and you're looking at things differently.
Yeah. And that's probably the biggest thing, like for parents, especially in the early stages when things are going on. It's okay if you need time out, if you're overwhelmed, to go and lock yourself in the bathroom for 5 minutes. Go and have a hot shower. Just give yourself that space rather than getting overwhelmed and frustrated. Because I guarantee you, if your child's crying or they're little in a cot, you
Mhm.
being overwhelmed is only going to increase their overwhelm. Whereas you giving yourself that 5 minutes breathing space to reset and recalm is actually going to help you calm that child. So don't feel selfish.
Yeah.
Take the time to ground yourself, because when you're grounded and more calm, the child will feel that, they will pick that up. And even when they're older, like I know if I get really worked up at home or I'm frustrated, I take it out of the kids, which means then they spiral and I spiral. So it's that big circle. Whereas when I go, all right, I'm not coping, you're not coping, let's just go and have some time out, do something we enjoy, and then we can come back together. It makes a big difference.
Now, I'm sure in a household full of all neurodivergents, you all have different special interests. What is yours and what are your kids and what is their husbands that matter?
So I guess when I was with the husband and the two boys are very much gaming. So he was always into gaming. That was his big passion. 16-year-old is very much into gaming, and now he's into Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm.
My daughter loves very much into horses and collecting like all your soft squishies. The youngest loves his online gaming, but he also loves his Lego. And I love my Lego and my puzzles. I can do a little bit of online gaming, but I prefer, I guess, those solitary things where I do it by myself and I get a bit too obsessed and stay up way too late doing jigsaw puzzles or Lego. But then I also love the nature. So it's trying to incorporate what everyone enjoys and loves. And like, yes, we all usually get and build the Lego together. We try and get jigsaw puzzles together. Things where we don't necessarily need to have big conversations, but we can all be in the space. But yeah, gaming is, I guess, there's an overlap and something we can all do when we find the right game. So we obviously all play Roblox Grow a Garden. It's something I can cope with because I can't handle Minecraft. It gives me motion sickness, but Grow
Ah,
a Garden, all five of us play. Um, so that's something that we can all do together. And I guess it's that achievement, it's that helping each other. So it is. It's very much adapting to what you need and finding something, even if it's only for 5-10 minutes, you can do it together, but you've still got something you can all do together.
now, do you have a hyper focus that's something really that you hone in on that you'd call your passion?
Uh, Unfortunately not. I think I get too distracted. I get a passion and go, I'm going down this path. And then it's like, oh, I've got a brilliant idea. I'm going to go down this path and this path. So no, I guess I'm starting to come back in to really focus on, I guess, really being able to help and educate and provide that awareness. Like I did want to go very much into, I guess, mentoring, advocacy, and that sort of thing. And then it dawned on me there is so much after the fact in everything. Like I was doing a lot in the domestic abuse space, but everything was after it happened. There was nothing teaching us what to do before you find out. So, and again, it's like with diagnosis and disabilities, it's like, well, what does it look like if you might be on the spectrum before you're diagnosed? What are the signs to look for? So, really getting into that, I guess, educating people on what's normal behaviors, what might be a deviation of normal, which might be your autism, so we can start to differentiate and learn what to look for so we can start putting these systems in place earlier rather than waiting until someone's 20, 30 or whatever and having them struggle at school, having them struggle with workplaces. So really getting back into that education awareness space to
Mhm.
help people pick things up earlier, because I
Now,
think that's where we're really going to create the most change.
I mean, people don't realize that we can make a change with a lot of things because we are brilliant people. I mean, our minds think so much differently than the rest of the world. It's just that the rest of society just doesn't look at us the way they should.
Oh, definitely. And I think because that's such a stigma that there's been so much with ASD used to be you're the retard. You don't have a brain. You can't think. You can't process anything. But then people fail, and I guess there's not enough recognition to the amazing minds like Einstein and like that, who were all spectrum here, created massive change. Like the biggest minds are usually the ones that are on the spectrum, have this outside the box thinking and won't give up, are willing to problem solve and create and try and try and try again until they actually get a solution. They don't go, all right, it didn't work the first time, I'm going to run away from it. They keep going and they are very persistent. They will try and adapt and go, all right, because I guess they get that hyperfixation. I want the light to glow. So how am I going to make the light glow?
Now, can you share a moment that you felt like a really big win, something that this made you say, yes, this was worth it?
Um, I guess seeing my kids acknowledge it and start to make those connections. Like the other day, I wasn't actually there. It was actually a brilliant moment, like how much giving that support and advocacy. The 8-year-old was with a support worker and they were buying muffins. So there was no conversations had with anyone. They'd bought 2 green sprinkle cupcakes. The mum behind had said, oh, we'll get a green one. And they'd said, oh, we want another green one. He goes, oh, he wanted the sprinkle one. That's all that was heard. But my 8-year-old turned around to this little boy who was nonverbal, probably 2 to 3 years old, and actually gave him his cupcake, which
Oh,
had everyone there in tears. But this was a completely non-verbal situation between these kids. And if anyone knows my 8-year-old, his favorite color is green. Usually he will not eat anything that's not green. So for him to give up something that was his favorite and something that he was very obsessed with to another child who hadn't asked for it, hadn't been told to do it off his bat, is that real awareness to go, well, hang on, sharing what we're doing, acknowledging what's going on, and that we do see and do things differently has led to a moment like that, which many would go, well, he couldn't do that. This was completely unscripted. There was no communication saying do it. He did it completely off his own bat.
I mean, what people don't realize about us is, and I've learned this, is we're very much intuitive people. We are so
Yes.
in touch with our own feelings and our own selves and other people's that we can tell when somebody's in need of something, that we will go beyond our own comforts and literally make someone else happy.
Well, definitely. And I think that's the thing, because we don't often express it verbally, which is what everyone expects, and say, I know you need it. That's why they put this barrier up and go, we can't do it. But yeah, no, my 8-year-old is so intuitive with what goes on and when I need help. Or like this situation was a perfect example for him realizing there was such a need for this little boy to have this green sprinkled cupcake that he ended up buying a white cupcake.
Oh,
Like if
wow.
I'd bought him a white cupcake, we would have had a meltdown or not eaten it. But in the situation, he was accepting of this white cupcake because he made someone else's day. And the impact on the adults was just, they ended up in tears watching what had happened and seeing this whole thing transpire between two kids.
Now, where can people find out more about yourself and reach out to you and say, "Hey, I want to follow I want to follow the similar path as you do."
Yep. So at the moment, I'm on Facebook under Alyson Richelle, and Alyson's got a Y just to confuse everyone. And I'm in the process that I'll be launching my own podcast probably later on the weekend, which will be Ask Alyson Anything. So again, it's talking about and giving people an opportunity to ask anything. And people are going, but that's a bit open. It's like, well, we need to start opening these conversations up. We need to be able to ask questions, because if we
Hmm.
don't ask questions, we're not going to learn.
Now, I want to end this by saying this has been a very powerful conversation. The story is a reminder that advocacy is always starts at home, but it doesn't have to stay there. For those listening, you're a parent navigating a similar journey, know that you're not alone. And I'm Reed Miles. That was Alyson Richelle, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Alyson.
Thank you.